A viral tweet off J.K. Rowling this morning. Congratulations to every single person on the left who's been campaigning to destroy women's and girls' rights. Without you, there'd be no images like this. And it's the God Emperor of mankind surrounded by the adoring public. The most low-effort win in presidential history. Brilliant that, isn't it? Brilliant. And it's driving the woke wild because you've got the likes of Martina Navratilova crying on Twitter saying, "It breaks my heart that nobody on the left was willing to do this." Willing to do what? Willing to do what? Sign an executive order with common sense on it? Can you believe how far we've fallen? In 2025, you needed presidential interference to stop Bob the burly bricklayer caving a woman's head in a cage fight. This is where we're at. World leaders are supposed to be dealing with important issues, wrestling with myriad complex and extremely difficult geopolitical problems, and instead they're wasting the time having to sign executive orders like that because the loopy left went completely crazy and insisted that the likes of Fallon Fox, a cage fighter with forearms like Popeye, father of several children, might I add, and wielder of the pork sword of justice, right, was going in cage matches with women, and I believe he fractured one of the skulls. Sorry, she might be breaking a law in the UK. Probably get arrested for that when I land at Heathrow. So that's why I call it a low-effort win. This is the easiest win since Rocky fought Mini-Me in a charity boxing match. Anyway, that's not going to be the main story for the day because I just wanted to bring that up. It is good, and that photo's fantastic. The Orange Oracle pleasing 100 million women in the United States, and probably 1 billion if you include everyone from around the world watching. Finally, some common sense. But the point is, it shouldn't be something that you need to involve the President of the United States in. We shouldn't even be wasting our time with this stuff. It's that obvious. And J.K. Rowling, lifelong lefty, long-term Labour donor, what side of the fence do you think she's on these days? As I keep saying, if you want to look who handed Trump the keys to power, if you're a lefty, look in the mirror, because you guys lost the plot years ago. Now, the main portion of the video, I mean, it is linked. I can segue neatly into it, because Trumpy Bear has just signed an executive order saying that women's sports should be the purview of women. Funny old thing. But the real scandal from the last week has been the USAID scandal, and it is linked because it turns out that we've been spending hundreds of millions of American taxpayers' dollars on projects related to this type of thing. For example, 3.3 million for being LGBTQ in the Caribbean, $500,000 to promote atheism in Nepal, 1.5 million for job opportunities for LGBTQ in Serbia, $1 million to boost French-speaking LGBTQ groups in West Africa, and the list goes on and on and on. So it is linked. The reason the president had to sign that executive order is because my money has been spent instructing fanny noshers in the Caribbean. Okay, I think that's a waste of money. And it gets much, much worse than that. So stay tuned and we'll point and laugh at just some of the ludicrous, insane, and often just plain self-harming ideas that we've been throwing money at. Some of this money basically went to terrorist groups. People that want to destroy the West have been getting funded by the West thanks to the corruption, cronyism, and outright stupidity of the last administration, and indeed this sort of global woke authoritarianism, because they're all in it together. It's an international scandal. If there's any justice, it'll completely bring down not just the Democrat Party, but a few hundred bent politicians all around the Western world. And heads should roll. Oh yeah, and here's one that fans of this channel probably like. We've even been funding, US taxpayers have been funding the BBC. Brilliant. The only thing we should be paying for related to the BBC, I would happily pay a couple of $1 million in order to purchase a £2,000 bunker buster and drop it on Broadcasting House. Okay, so this is a global scandal. USAID is nothing more than a corrupt slush fund for leftist Democrats. Donald J. Trump himself tweeted this out on his own social media network, Truth Social. Looks like billions of dollars have been stolen at USAID and other agencies, much of it going to the fake news media as a payoff for creating good stories about the Democrats. The left-wing rag known as Politico seems to have received $8 million, Did the New York Times receive money? Who else did? This could be the biggest scandal of them all, perhaps the biggest in history. The Democrats can't hide from this one. Too big, too dirty. Fantastic. Fantastic. He's doing the Lord's work, God bless him. The only negative to all these stories is that I've finally lost my rage boner. I'm flaccid today. Thanks to Donald Trump. God bless him. I needed a day off. And it gets even dirtier. Apparently, Chelsea Clinton raked in $84 million, and a large chunk of that was due to USAID. Taxpayer funding for all of these Philanthropy Inc. type organisations was just throwing money, once again, at the Clintons, who can't stay out of trouble, can they? That family is filthy. Dirtier than Gary Glitter's hard drive. And Rapid Response 47's done probably the best summation of this, just how much corruption and waste has gone on. It says USAID has been completely unaccountable for decades, run by bureaucrats with agendas who believe they answer to nobody. Here are a few more of the ridiculous projects on which they spent your money. $8 million to teach Sri Lankan journalists how to avoid binary gendered language. I don't even know what it means. I just know it's bad. 20 million for Sesame Street in Iraq. Can you even imagine what Iraqi Sesame Street looks like? If it's anything like that Palestinian mouse, it's not going to be doing the kids any good, because they'll be instructing them how to fill the pockets with ball bearings and rat poison and blow themselves up on a public bus. I mean, I know Oscar was grouchy, but I wasn't expecting to see him lop heads off with a meat cleaver. 4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. That's just thieving. What do you mean combat disinformation? When authoritarian scum are deciding what's disinformation, and it almost always turns out to be true, this is literally just paying for global propaganda. 1.5 million for art of inclusion for people with disabilities. 2 million for sex changes in Guatemala. Amazing. Can you imagine Joe the plumber? He's under someone's sink. Have you read the paper today, Joe? What's going on? Oh, well, you'll be pleased to know, you know all them taxes you paid last year? Took a few cocks off in Guatemala. Oh, nice one. Pass the shifting spanner. 6 million to transform digital spaces to reflect feminist principles. 2.1 million to help the BBC value the diversity of Libyan society. 10 million of USAID-funded meals which went to the Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group. You get the idea. I'll be here all day if I read you some of this stuff. We literally fed Al-Qaeda affiliates. When I was in Afghanistan, we were going on advanced contact patrols, killing the enemy in Helmand province. Turns out the Americans were buying the packed lunches. Can you believe that? We were nourishing the enemy. When they were a bit peckish because they'd had a busy day firing RPGs at British soldiers in Helmand province, they were kicking back and relaxing with some Smucker's peanut butter and some Reese's Pieces airdropped in by the American government. So to sum up, we don't need to go over this anymore. Most of that gobbledygook is literally just an excuse to throw money at global propaganda in order to reinforce the authoritarian globalist movements all across the world. As we've discussed several times in the last few years, every accusation from a woke globalist is an admission of guilt. If they're complaining about it, they're doing it. They've been complaining about Trump and Musk, corruption, and Musk, oh, he's taking the taxpayers' money. He isn't. They're using billions of American dollars to propagandise people. It's now an undeniable fact. The whole world knows about it, and heads should roll. It really does make you wonder how far this goes. And because the UK doesn't have a Trump on the horizon, you'll not learn about this for a while. But if they've been giving money to the BBC, what else are they paying for in the UK? How much money did the Biden administration, and no doubt the Obama administration, give to organisations in the UK to help propagandise the youth, buy the vote for the woke globalists, and tyrannise the population that disagree with them? It does beg the question. Anyway, that's me for the day. I suggest you get on Twitter, type in USAID in the search box, and just piss yourself laughing at the stuff we've spent money on. It makes the Nigerian Spice Girls look like money well spent. All right, when you start doom scrolling, it's unbelievable. But that's just my opinion. If you think it's all money well spent because your name's Chelsea Clinton and some of it went in your own arse pocket, please let me know in the comments. All right, and other than that, I'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy. Toodle pip. Cheers.